very complex subject, certainly, and I worry some of the people at the back couldn't see anything. But Bud's mentioned that we'll have some material, hopefully as much of the presentations as we can online for people to download. This that video, audio video was also very good. It'd be nice if we could do something with that also for you. But could I ask Mr. Wenceslao to come back to the stage just to answer a few questions? And one thing is, I forgot to mention that we have the Dr. Bernie Villegas here today, who, yes, he spoke for us a few minutes and actually holds the records for the most number of attendees, which you could never expect from an economist. You know, I just really surprised. Also, Mario Oreta is here, also, as mentioned, a prominent joint venture partner and owner of this building, also, I should say. On the timing. There's many different things, and companies seem to overstate maybe their time schedules. But when do you think the first casino, the SM casino, will be operational? What do you and some of the other ones? Do you have any idea of the timing for that?
I'm just looking at the way they're constructing. The one actually ahead of construction was SM. Bell City, but for some reason or the other they got delayed. The one which is continually moving, and we notice they're working on almost on a 24-hour basis, is the Bloomberry development. Okay, so we expect that the group of Mr. Razon should be, the hotel, at least the hotel should be functioning sometime second quarter of next year. These are not small developments. At least one of those buildings is costing at least $400 or $500 million US. So it's pretty tough work, but they're moving forward. Okay. The contractor is pretty good. The contractor is the MCI, so it's moving forward. Now the Japanese group Aruse, they're now driving their piles. You know, in this kind of, especially in reclamation project, the foundation work is the toughest to do. So it takes them some time to get up. Mega World has not started working. So at least by next year, at least one or two of the hotels will be moving. You know, the difficulty, I think PAGCOR made the requirement that you cannot operate the casino unless the hotels are operational. So I don't know whether they will be a little more liberal in this policy. It might be to their interest that they should get those hotels moving, because these are massive hotels. Each one, I think, is required to put up 800 rooms to qualify for the licensing. 800 five-star rooms. Each hotel, so times 4. So that's the amount of hotels that should be around by 2015. Okay? So we could easily attract now convention events to the country with that size. And the beautiful thing is they're all located in one area, walking distance from one to the other.
That is interesting. Just on the number of hotel rooms, I'm not sure, does anybody know how many hotel rooms there are in Makati? But this increase in number of hotel rooms is going to put a lot of new rooms on the market. And labor is another thing. If I owned a hotel, I'd be worried about my own people. We have a question from Dr. Bernie Villegas. Maybe I can hand you the microphone.
You did mention about putting the rocks to prevent the sand from going back. What technical solutions are you contemplating to avoid what happened to Sofitel and to the U.S. Embassy? I think those are technical problems that fortunately can be addressed, because you know already what has happened to these two major buildings now.
For one thing, the elevation, our elevation in the reclamation, we are at least 1 meter higher than the mainland. We made sure of that. No? Plus, the design of the seawall is critical. Okay, you have to have the seawall higher to make sure that you can compensate for storm surges. You know, storm surges are events where the wind or the typhoons pushes the waves higher than required. No? As long as you can drain out, important is you can drain out the water so that it will not flood. But if you let it come in without draining, then you get problems like what you have in Sofitel. As a general policy, we are not encouraging building of basements in the area. So, no, If you want to build the basement, we have to do 24-hour pumping because the water table is quite high. Okay, so our parking is always on the upper floors. So those who would like to put up, we have a building designed there for 4 floors basement parking, designed by the Hong Kong group. Supposed to be the site of Shangri-La Hotel. You know, Hong Kong, they can do that because they got the technology to do 24-hour pumping, or they have the system. In the Philippines, probably they can also do it. But the question is, as much as possible, as recommended, we suggest they go up vertically. The problem of storm surges has to be addressed all the way down to the breakwater portion. Okay. We intend to put up a series of breakwater farther out to reduce the cost of the storm surge. Right now, in the last typhoon, we didn't suffer. We had waves going up, but we didn't have the problem because we got the design of our drainage pretty well designed by to make sure that whatever comes in has to flow out to the sea. There is a common misconception that reclamation causes flooding. That's not true. Reclamation project is a buffer against storm surges because you create a buffer zone in front of the mainland. Reclamation project by its own requirements have their internal drainage system. Asiana is an island by itself. It's surrounded by water. So our drain comes, we can drain out our water in all directions. Plus the fact that we provide drainage for the mainland. So we provide the normal drain. We are aware of this problem, and we have made sure that our drainage system can cover this kind of eventualities.
Very interesting.
Okay, Bernie.
Good answer. John Underwood has a question.
Similar to the last question, but with the accelerated melting of the polar ice caps and rising sea levels, does that cause you to have to react accordingly?
Our designs are done internationally. If our engineers, they have a complete laboratory in Europe for this sort of thing. If the engineers tell us that we have to raise our elevation of our land reclamation by another 1 meter, we can easily do that. But so far, there's been no advice to raise the elevation. Right now, we are already 1 meter higher than Ross Boulevard. Ross Boulevard will get flooded, but Asiana, and for that matter, Bay City itself will not get flooded. For the simple reason we are higher by elevation. If there's a requirement to raise it further, as you know the process, we can easily increase the elevation of the reclaimed land. That's the advantage of this kind of projects. You want to go up, we can go up on that basis.
Very good. Eric Nielsen of Meg Sci-Sci.
Thank you. Well, first, congratulations to Rebecca and Richard on the turnout. You're really determined to outgrow also this new venue. But on Asiana, I think one can only say, wow. I have seen myself in South America a good example of how a project like this can rejuvenate, transform a city. This has the potential to move the pulse of the city west to the Bay again, where it used to be. My question, though, is on the groups that are against this. There are some people that don't think this is a great idea. They're saying it will take away the beautiful Marina sunset and are you engaging these groups in some constructive dialogue, or is it just noise on the wire?
I've seen that in the internet. But you talk about sunset, the sunset will never disappear, nor the sunrise. If the sun disappears, we are all dead. So basically what I'm saying, we're just moving it forward. Okay, we are not in any way removing the view from anybody, because most of the designs, there's a promenade area in front. You can walk from our area, you can walk to the sea, and you want to watch the sunset, you can do so from your areas. Of course, those who owns land behind the proposed reclamation, they'll start complaining. But my point, if you look from what we have done, okay, let's talk of pure national interest. Let's forget about private interest. From a body of water, we created 15 billion plus worth of assets for the government. From our side alone, we have already contributed 4 billion in taxes. We're going to generate around 60,000 jobs. We are attracting multi-billion investment. What's wrong with that? Am I saying, can that balance, can that even compare against the fact that you lost the view? That's not a logical way of answering this question, this debate. You have to compare the economic values of what we have done to the potential loss of the view of the bay. I realize that there are a lot of objections, but remember, we have an advantage. Our country has an advantage. We are an archipelago. It means we can reclaim land all the way to Scarborough, if you want. Okay? No, it can be done. I'm not saying it's financially viable, but I'm telling you it can be done. If you give me any spot of area and you want an island created, we can create it. It's going to be tremendously expensive, but it can be done. And that's where the advantage of the Philippines is. You know, as the population grows, we have the problem of the land. Where is the land that we need to produce food? Where is the land that we need to produce for the housing and the factories? Right now, what's happening, the developers are converting rice fields to property developments, to put up factories. Some of them are bringing down mountains just to produce the land. Here we have the open sea. We can reclaim as much as we reclaim within limits. What are the limits? Not all reclamation projects are economically or financially viable. Because once the depths of the water becomes too deep, you cannot recover your investment. But my point, we are an archipelago. We have a series of islands. We can expand the land facilities, the land area to meet the increase in population. Population needs land. We are capable of creating land. I'm not saying that we should disregard the complaints of the private landowners whose view is being obstructed by new developments. All have to do is they buy. They can buy the new land and they can come out with view. The view will never disappear, no matter what kind of land reclamation we do.
Okay, very good. Any more questions? I know it's a very big subject. Oh yes, we have a question there, my dear. There's a microphone just behind you.
Good morning. How, with all those new hotels coming up and all the developments, how is the airport going to cope with it?
Good question.
I'm not expert in the development, but I know the overall movement, okay? The government initially came out with the plans of expanding the Clark Airport, okay? Clark. But from the point of view of the investments in the Bay Area, the government must protect the investments made in Pagcor City. That's roughly 5 billion. Therefore, any airport plan should be as close to this development as possible. We have our own scheme. We are developing our own scheme. Our group was given the mandate to develop a scheme by the Philippine Reclamation Authority. We came out with a scheme of developing, reclaiming land offshore of Sangli. Okay? We are not going to use the base. We are putting it offshore to Sangli. Why? Because if you notice the series of reclamation projects, these are already basically done deals. When you do your reclamation project, automatically you have the right of way to put up the infrastructure. All we need now is to create a causeway from the mainland across Sangli. That's only 2 kilometers. From the new airport, we can get to the area within 15, 20 minutes time. You don't need to build a high-speed railroad to Manila. Is it doable? We think it's doable. We're just working out the numbers. But as far as building it technically, we can reclaim it in the same way that Cheplakok Airport was built in Hong Kong. Okay? We are capable, the group is capable of building it. Again, matter of political will. The government must make a decision. Where do they want to put it? Right now, PAL, Philippine Airlines, is thinking of building a new airport. I don't know where. You know. But if PAL builds a new airport, that will practically decongest the existing airport now. What we are thinking is building a totally new airport that will basically meet the demands of the new planes. You know, those big Airbuses with at least 800 passengers load. We must build a new airport to be able to bring the passengers to the country. Will the government do it? Again, political will. The private sector, I can tell you right now, can build the platform. We can reclaim the land to build a new airport.
Very good and very complex subjects and answers. Well, we want to thank you very much to Mr. Wenceslao. Thank you very much, sir. A pleasure to have him. And please, as always, come on up. Buds and Delphin are going to answer a lot of questions for everybody, but it's a very complex and mammoth a project that will impact all of us. So I'll just welcome Rebecca Bustamante, the president of AsiaCEOForum, to have her message.
Thank you. For doing a great job, the sponsors would like to give gift to our speaker this morning. Please give our speaker a round of applause. We would like to call on from PLDT, Mr. Jovi Hernandez, to please give gift to the speaker. Mr. Delphin, please come back on the stage, please. Can you go in the middle, please? Richard? Yes. Picture? Yeah. Richard. Mr. Richard Mills, can you please come back on the stage to join them? Thank you. Next sponsor, we would like to call on Meralco, Mr. Victor Peñano, the Vice President and Head Corporate Business Group, to please come on stage. Thanks, Jovi. Thank you. Now we would like to Comnet, Mr. Richard Gan, President and CEO. Where are you? Here you are. See, we have good sponsors. Thank you. And next sponsor, we have Jones Lang Lasal Lichu, Sheila Lubien, for doing a great job for this morning. So again, thank you to all the sponsors and the speaker this morning. Thank you. Yeah. Now it's time for raffle draw. Who wants to win this morning? We have a special gift from PLDT. Let's start from Miss Presi Katigbak to please come. Richard. Any business cards you would like to put more here? You're allowed if you forgot. It's that side. Okay, don't go yet because you might win. We have a lot of prizes. The first winner goes to
AON, Mr. Redford Maclagan. Are you here? Congratulations.
From Ion, Philippines, please come. Okay. Ion, if not, you're not allowed to get the gift. Are you here? From Ion, Philippines, are you here? Oh, there she is, yeah. Come on up, please.
Mr. Bienvenido F. Dimson of DMI. Congratulations. Please come up on stage and claim your prize.
Okay. So while we're waiting for Mr. Bienvenido Dimson, we have a special, one more free draw, special gift from Mr. Jovi Hernandez. I wonder what is that. Can we call him, please? You wish. Maybe it's an iPhone. I'm not sure.
Thanks, Rebecca. Good morning, everybody. Unfortunately, it's not an iPhone. But actually, as you know, I'm very happy today. It's my first time to join again the Asia CEO Forum meetings here in this fantastic venue. And I'm sure you'd realize why I'm very happy.